Poštovani gledalci, lijep pozdrav iz Sarajevskog studija. Ja sam Ika Ferergotić. Ovo je N1 intervju. Prave ljudske priče su nam važne i upravo jednom takvom pričom ćemo se baviti i večeras. Govorit ćemo o tome kako, bez obzira u kojem dijelu svijeta živite i kakav background imate, istinsko prijateljstvo je zaista moguće. Posebno u onim najtežim uvjetima gdje se pravi prijatelji prepoznaju. Jedna fotografija učinila je upravo to da se pravi prijatelji ponovno pronađu. Prije nego vas upoznam sa svojim gostom, pogledajmo o kojoj je to fotografiji riječ. Jedna fotografija učinila je mnogo da se dva prijatelja ponovno pronađu. Dječak izbjeglica, kanadski vojnik i osmijeh na dječjem licu.
Je to ova kuća? To je ta kuća, da.
Amir je tad imao 9 godina kad je došao ovdje u Visoko. Da, 3. razred, 9 godina. I onda on Justinu slikao te helikoptere, slikao Justina, crtao ga odnosno. I tako mu je malo pomalo, ko djeca uvijek se umile. Dao mu je jedan crtež, onda je Justin se to svidlo, Justin za njemu počeo slatkiše donositi.
You're standing here in 1994 with Amir. So I'm standing exactly where Amir used to stand. And you were behind that fence over there. You see there?
Fotografija je vratila stara sjećanja na teško vrijeme u Bosni i Hercegovini. And Justin, how did the childhood of the children of war, through your eyes, looked like to you?
I was concerned for them. I was concerned for Amir. I knew that he wasn't originally from Visoko. And I found myself thinking of all of those kids, and you can't help but to compare that to the life that you're used to. And it fascinated me how the littlest things maybe that we in Canada take for granted a little bit, things like a candy or something to play with, it amazed me to see how happy that this made them.
Dječak sa slike, Amir Bajramović, danas je ponosni otac, živi u Švedskoj i mašta o momentu ponovnog susreta s prijateljem koji mu je davne 1994. godine pružao podršku.
Show you my hometown, my Banja Luka is the most beautiful town in the world for me. I hope so we will meet in the summer.
But we can also work together and use this opportunity that we have made to spread the happiness around the world and let everyone know that love is possible, regardless of geography, regardless of where you're from.
Susret uz ogradu u 2018. novoga puta na istoj strani. Ika Ferergotić, N1 Visoko. Večeras s nama u studiju upravo protagonista ove priče koji je samo za nas došao direktno iz Kanade, Justin Frye. Justin, welcome to N1. Welcome to Sarajevo.
Dobro večer.
Dobro večer, Justin. Intense few days for you.
Great, wonderful.
Days, wonderful days. But I'll take you back to the beginning of the story. We had a chance to see the story, what the story is, what the picture is that we see here on our screens. What was the beginning of your story and the beginning of the story of this picture that we are seeing?
So the United Nations tour, as most people know, began here in 1994 in Visokom, and that was my second tour of duty with the United Nations. My first tour of duty was on the island of Cyprus, and Bosnia was tour number 2 for me.
That was more difficult tour, right? As I could understand.
Different, very different tour, and we knew that when we were coming over here. We knew it would be different, and we trained extensively to come over here.
All right. So, what did they tell you? What was your knowledge before you came to Bosnia? What did they tell you? Where are you going? What were you supposed to see there? Were you aware of what was going on in Bosnia back in the '94? Because '94 was the year when you came to Bosnia, right?
That's right. Yeah. So 1994 was the year we came, and we followed it extensively in the news, like most of the world did at that time. However, before we went, we were told about how active of a theater that this area was, and we trained almost for a year prior to deployment before coming over here.
Okay.
And we were told that over here was unsettled, and it was different than any other tour that we had been on. they gave the tours that we came over here, they gave them a name and they gave them a number. And so I was Op Cavalier, Operation Cavalier number 4. So we were the 4th 6-month rotation of Canadians to come into this area.
Starting off 92, so the 94 was the 6th division, then it was the Canadian battalion in Visokom. You were stationed in Visokom.
That's right.
And I want to talk about this picture that most of the media, even in Canada, spoke about.
They did.
So who is on the picture, and what does this picture represent to you? And what is your memory? How do you remember this moment when this picture was taken?
So the story with the picture, I think I have to preface it, Ika, by saying that I don't have a lot of tangible things from my time in Bosnia in 1994. As we both know, life was a little bit different in the early 90s. We didn't have digital photography technology. So I actually left the Balkans with not a lot of tangible things, not a lot of pictures or mementos of my time here. But I always kept this photograph.
You knew you had it.
Right. It was on my screensaver on my computer.
Okay, but why did it take 25 years for you to take action to find a person from the picture?
So the story of the picture was a story of friendship and a story that started with nonverbal communication. I spoke English. I didn't speak any of the language over here whatsoever. And part of our tasks when we were here was to perform security for a landing zone for United Nations helicopters that were using our camp in Visokom. When we were on the security detail at the landing zone, a lot of children would come over because they like to see the helicopters, they like to see the soldiers. And that was when I started to strike up a friendship with a young boy that you see in the picture that we now know is Amir. It started with no verbal communication, with just a smile and a wave. And then it started to happen every time there was a helicopter come in, he would come to the fence. And he had a wonderful, slightly older sister that would come, and soon the wave turned into hello and some communication. And I really noticed that these kids, they were happy, but they didn't have some of the things that we in Canada or North America sometimes take for granted. Just the little things.
Like candies, like
candies, crayons, pencils, paper. So I was able to phone to my mom once a week. I was a 22-year-old when this 22, so I didn't have a wife or anything like that, but I was able to phone to my mom on a satellite phone once a week. And I would say, "Hello, Mom," and 2 seconds later I would hear my own voice say, "Hello, Mom." So I had to tell my mom, teach her how to say over when she was done talking.
When she was done talking.
Yeah,
so
that's how different the time was when you look at now and then. But I started to ask her, can you send me things for Amir? And so I got him pencils and papers, and
so she sent things
in a care package.
In a care package that was coming to the base where you were stationed, right?
And even the care packages had to go to an address in Canada, and then the Canadian military would bring them to us.
Bring them to you.
Yeah.
That was the only way. So, and then you met Amir's sister, Amra.
Yes.
She translated for you guys?
She did, and I remember it like it was yesterday. But the picture, when the picture was taken, Amir was a little hesitant because he actually said to me he was worried about the wire in the picture and he didn't want to look like a prisoner of war behind some wire. And I said, it's okay.
Can you imagine, can you go back to that moment when a child, a 10-year-old child, thinks like that, thinking that he doesn't want to look like he's behind the fence, behind the wire,
right.
Behind the... Can you imagine children having that kind of a sense and thoughts in that time?
It definitely stuck with me throughout the years, and I think that like my story represents a lot of stories of soldiers that have made friends with children in war zones all over. When you leave, you don't forget. But Amir's picture, as I already mentioned, I didn't have a lot of things, but I always had the picture, and I always told friends and family, I'm going to go back there. I'm going to find him, and I'm going to stand at that fence again. It was to not go back was never an option for me. I always knew that I would be back here. At some point.
You would be back.
Right.
And you are.
I am.
And this is today. It happened today.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
It's 25 years later. So that's quarter of a century to go back to a place. And because we spent a day together, and what really was interesting that you recognized everything immediately. First of all, that's a great memory. Second of all, it's probably, it was so intense for you at that time that you remember every detail of our path. And it was an interesting day, interesting few days, definitely. And I just suggest our viewers to see just shortly how it looked like when you first came and when you met Amra, Amir's sister.
It was wonderful.
It was a wonderful experience. Let us see that first, then we'll comment on that. Bila je to Amra, dakle Amirova sestra koja je u ratu prevodila za dječaka Amira i za Justina koji je upravo protagonista ove naše priče. Justin, intense, very emotional meeting. Wonderful meeting.
Yes.
How do you look upon today's events that you had the chance to experience 25 years later?
I get a lot of people ask me that question, and for me the easiest way to explain it is, as I said, I never ever doubted that I would come back here, ever. I knew that I would come back, and it's like an analogy of a book that you didn't finish. However, this time, instead of reading the book, you are part of the book. So can you imagine to never finish it? Because I couldn't. And I knew that I had to come back here, and it just made it extra special to not only spend time with you and have a personal guide to show me around and show me how wonderful
it was my pleasure.
This area is, but also to see Amra again and to be able to surprise her. That was a wonderful thing. It would be only made better if Amir was here. But we respect that he is a young father with 2 kids and a full-time job, and we were all there at one point. So
we have understanding.
We have an understanding of that, but there's no question that I will always come back here. I love the area. I love the people, and it feels like a little piece of home away from Canada for me now.
Does it feel sort of a closure for you now? You haven't been back until today, until these days. Does it feel like closure? And what does, when you go back and when you think about '94 in Bosnia, in Sarajevo, in Visokom, how does Bosnia look to you today? You had a chance to see some places and that contrast that you mentioned a few times. How does that look to you today?
That's the best word to describe it, is contrast. When we left in 1994, I came in on a winter tour. We were here in the wintertime, and it was wet and it was cold, and the smells, I will always remember the smells because our camp was close to a leather factory, and there's certain industrial smells that would always take you back. And it was the biggest contrast that I saw was the number of people and the fullness of the cities now. To walk around Sarajevo as we did last night and see it bustling with people that are laughing, that are smiling, that are jovial and having a great time, that is a large contrast from the way that the city was in 1994 and the way the area was. And for me, that does equal closure.
That does equal closure.
Yes.
Do you feel satisfied, content?
That's a great way to describe it.
Leaving in the morning, are you bringing that piece of satisfaction with you in your heart when you leave today?
Yes, absolutely. And I will also tell the many people, the power of social media and the people that I put a simple post on that I'm in Sarajevo with the I love Sarajevo sign and people saying how much they loved it, and then on the other side people saying I would love to see the change, and it's going to be my pleasure to tell those people just how much this city has changed and this area has changed. It's been nothing but amazing.
And when you look back and when you look today and these days that you spend in Sarajevo, in Bosnia and Visoko, and you've seen some of some beauties of Bosnia and the blossoming of the city, does it then seem meaningless to you that what happened back in the 90s? Because you see people of all ethnicities sitting together again, and you see back again 4 major religions in Sarajevo. Sarajevo is called European Jerusalem. You've seen mosques, you've seen Orthodox churches, Catholic churches, and you've seen synagogues at the same place. Does it then seem meaningless to you what happened back then? And can you find somehow the answers of why would something like that happen?
To properly word this, it's at that time that was not my job. My job was to come here and perform as a soldier at a certain level, to do what I was assigned to do, and to try to think about the decisions that had to be made at upper levels, whether it be military levels or parliamentary levels. I can't do that. But when, like you said, when you walk around the city and you see everybody together and you see in close proximity synagogues and churches and mosques, it shows us that anything's possible.
Anything's possible. You were 22.
I was.
When you, what was the heaviest, the heaviest event from the 90s that really stayed with you and that you maybe even struggled all these years with?
When you talk about how someone struggles after they leave a war zone, if we can call it that, it comes in phases. So for me, the biggest change when I got home right away is that I wouldn't walk on grass because of the threat of mines. We were told about mines and to be careful, and it's just something that when you came home, I wouldn't walk on the grass for the longest time, and I remember that. And I remember that I couldn't sleep in a bed as well, because inside of the camp in Visoko, we slept on cots, Army-issued cots, which are basically pieces of canvas stretched out as tight as they can with metal framing, and then we slept in a sleeping bag on that. And when I came home, I couldn't even sleep in a comfortable bed for about 6 months. I had to set my cot up. But if I look at time, and it's been, as we know, 25 years now that since I've been here, the one thing that really stuck with me was the people and the children like Amir and like Amira. That's probably the biggest thing that stayed with me, was wondering if they were safe. I mean, if we look at when this story originally aired, thanks to you.
No, thanks to you.
But we look at the date for that, when that story originally aired. Prior to that, I didn't have any knowledge of the area. I knew nothing about Amira or Amir, nothing. You were left wondering. But now, after coming here and getting to see the area and to spend time with you and spend time with Amira and surprise her, and to actually walk on that ground in Visoko and to spend time with the family that lived at their house, that is the information that I need inside of me now that satisfies all of those questions that I had for 24 years, 25 years.
25 years. And your family, tell us something about your family. What did they think about all of this?
They knew this picture was commonplace. It was on my computer. That's how it all began. It popped up as a screensaver, and this is how it started. So the picture was something new, but we often spoke of my time over here, and it would come up at nightly conversations. If you were for dinner, people would say, "Oh, what do you do?" And I've been a police officer now. I'm in year number 21, which is almost a complete police career. However, it feels like I was here yesterday.
Yeah.
Really.
Because you recognized everything just the same second.
I saw our camp, and I knew it immediately that was our camp. But I guess my point is that I still at times feel like I'm in the Army. I still feel, it feels to me like yesterday. It's amazing the passage of time. And that was more evident today when I looked at the landing zone on the other side of the fence. What was once a clear field for helicopters to land now has large trees in it. And the shrubbery around the fence, we couldn't even really see into the landing zone. And that stuck with me today. It was, this story is a long time ago.
And you don't have that feeling at all, right?
No. No, I knew the camp right away as you saw it today.
It was like, it seemed like it was yesterday for you, right there.
That house will always be special to me.
That house is very special to you, and you left a flower today.
I did.
Under the balcony of that house. Can you tell us something about that event?
As a 22-year-old soldier, as I said, our part of my job was landing zone security for helicopters, and when I would go there, the top of that house, above the top floor balcony, there was a rocket blast in the roof, and that rocket blast had been repaired. However, you could still see the burn marks around the outside on the stucco. I knew what it was when I saw it. And when you're standing there and you're waiting for a helicopter and you're young and your mind starts to wander and you're looking, I fixated on that, and I always wondered what happened. And there was folklore around the camp that there was an old man that was unfortunately killed when a rocket exploded there. And that's the last I really thought of that house. I remember that thought process, but for 25 years, that's the last I really had thought of it considerably, until the story broke with Amir's picture and my picture behind the fence. Because I got a Facebook message from another Canadian, and he's originally from this area, and his message, and his message said to me, "Can you do me a favor? If you go back to the house, can you take me some pictures?" And I said, "Of course. Can I ask why?" And he said, "Because that was my house." Wow. And it just gave me chills all over, and I wanted to ask him, but at the same time, you want to respect someone's privacy, especially considering that someone potentially had been killed there. But I did ask him. I said, "I have a difficult question to ask, and I apologize, but if you don't mind answering it." He said, "Ask me whatever you want." And I said, "There's a rocket blast in the roof." And he paused and he said, "My mom was killed there." And his mom was putting out clothing to dry on the line, and a rocket barrage came in. There were a number of rockets that were fired, and unfortunately one hit right on the side of the house, right where she was standing, and she was killed instantly.
And this is why you put the flower right there where she lost her life.
Right. I told him.
About that.
I told him, I for my own selfish reasons, for my own closure, but also out of respect for a fellow Canadian now, and to respect someone that now it puts a name and a face to this story. I felt I had to do that, and I told him, if I go back there, and when I go back there, I will put a flower there for your mom. And that's why I did that today. That
was very powerful today, to witness, to be there. Really, thank you for letting me be there and witnessed all of this. For you, Bosnia has become part of your life, part of you. It is you. Justin Frye is Bosnia back then, and you are here now 25 years later. Are you planning to come back? Are you planning to keep on visiting? Are you planning to bring your family here?
There's so much that I want to see now. And I have to mention too, you and I spoke about the different ethnicities and religious backgrounds, but when the story first broke with Amir's picture and I, the messages that came from around the Balkans, again, the power of social media, but the messages that came to me from around the Balkans was nothing less than incredible. And everybody was wonderful, and I did my best to answer every single message to say thank you, and the power of that was amazing. And what's amazing about it is that we're all different. We don't speak the same language, but yet it makes everybody happy.
Everybody happy, and everybody needs a good, happy ending story, a good story. We are all bombarded with very bad news on a daily basis. So good stories is something that we really miss in today's media.
Right.
And your story is one of that story. And when I look at this picture, I mean, you're a kid over here. I mean, this is you.
A little pounds less.
I mean, that is okay. But if you look at a picture and when you look at yourself, what didn't you know back then that you know now that you wish you knew back then?
That's a great question. I would say,
because when you look at the eyes are very innocent. And you have a different set of eyes right now, you know, with experience, with things that you've seen.
Right.
So that's why I asked you, what was the most difficult experience that you had to go through here? Because you were a kid, you were here, you know, born to a country. So it's a different set of eyes. And I'm just wondering, what is it that you know now that you wish you knew back then?
I would say the biggest thing that I came out of this area knowing now is the power of positive communication. And when we speak to that, we think about nonverbal communication, saying hello to someone with a simple wave or a smile, like you said. In my job as a police officer now, that can set the tone sometimes when you have conversation with someone. So now I make a conscious effort to say hello to everyone in different languages when I can. If I'm in that area, I like to use the language that they use in that area. But if I don't, I'll always wave or at least smile at someone, because that can really set the tone. And it doesn't matter what language you speak. But that's one of the biggest things that I carried forward, and that my brother, I have an identical twin brother, and we are people persons. Yeah, we really are.
You are. Jason, your brother.
Jason, my brother, and we always say hi to people. We always cheer for the underdog, shall we say, and just understand that communication and a smile and a wave can go a long way, and it can change someone's day.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it did here.
Right.
People usually remember people's smiles, a positive gesture, a small gesture, which you have done, which you did back then in '94 with Amir, and look at where you are now.
Do you know that an old police officer that worked with me many years ago told me something, and I will never, ever forget it. And he said to me, people may not remember exactly what you say to them, but they will remember how you said it and how it made them feel. So I always remembered that, and that was one of the things that I looked at using whenever I did interviews and things like this as a police officer. People may not remember what you say, but they'll remember how it made them feel, and how you said it.
That's very powerful. I will remember that. I learned something today.
I'm glad.
Justin, thank you so much for this opportunity. thank you for coming to Sarajevo. Thank you for coming to Bosnia. Thank you for loving this country.
I do, and I'll be back.
And loving this region, not just the country, the region, which is really beautiful when you look at it from the outside and when you're here eventually, right?
Something that I said frequently throughout the day was just how beautiful the area really is. And it's
really
wonderful.
Happy you had a great time, and we are looking forward to seeing you back with your family, with your daughter, with your brother and sister Jennifer. And thank you again for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Poštovani gledalci, bio je to dakle protagonista naše priče Justin Frye, koji je samo za ovu priliku došao iz Kanade kako bi posjetio mjesto gdje je tačno prije 25 godina napravio ovu sliku, gdje je upoznao upravo Amira Bajramovića, također lika iz naše priče. Hvala vam mnogo za pažnju. Ja sam Mika Ferergotić. Doviđenja.